Welcome back to your last budget launch where we are setting up your zero debt budget spreadsheet. This is the planning page. So make sure as you watch this video, you've already seen the overview video. We are going to be filling in your planning page. Now, there is a separate video that walks you through how to do this on paper first. So if you are a paper person where you like to see things all written out, consider doing that. It's not required at all. But when you fill out that worksheet set that I include, it prepares you to be ready to go to fill everything in exactly the way it is. I'm going to proceed here as if you haven't filled it out and tell you all about how this works. Up here in gray, remember you can only type on this light gray color, you are going to enter your expected monthly income. So this number, if I type in, I'm just going to type in 5,000, you can see how that works. It will change this number. Whatever this number is either the total of your household income for take-home pay each month. If it's, let's say you have a salary and you always make $5,412.65, right? Whatever that number is. Or maybe you work in commissions or sales or waitressing or something where the actual amount changes every month. You are going to go with whatever the lowest amount you typically earn is. Let's say you're like, okay, I usually don't earn more than $3,200 a month. Sometimes I earn a lot more, but and once or twice I earn a little bit less, but usually it's not lower than this. You are going with whatever number like you would need to live on in that situation so that when you build your budget, it's not more than this. Because if you sometimes earn only $3,200 and you build your budget on, say, $3,700, you're going to be short a lot of months, right? So go with whatever is your lowest amount. We are going to get started with, let's say it's, I'll just put that in there for now. Here's how this works. You are going to enter your debts here. I'm going to just fill some things out here, then I'm going to show you the final version. Let's say your Discover credit card has this as the balance. The APR, when you put this in here, just be aware, this is for you only. This is not calculating anything. There's no formula that's going to take this and then tell you exactly when you'll be debt free. That's a totally separate step with a separate spreadsheet kind of thing. This is for you to be able to compare and be like, oh, that one's got a higher APR or a lower APR, so I'm going to prioritize it or not. Due or fund by, let's say it's due by the 8th of the month. And you might say, okay, my minimum payment is $134. Okay. And as you go down the line, as you fill these in, let's say this one is that, and it's 23.49. This one will be due on the 16th, and let's say it's, I don't know, that. See how it's totaling up your minimum payments, right? These are minimums only. So if you have been sending extra to some debts, I see this a lot with clients when I meet with them one-on-one. They give me numbers, and then it turns out that's not actually their minimum. They're like, well, I always send $50 extra, right? These are literally the credit card says you must pay this amount or it's like late or delinquent, right? That is all we want, because the extra amount that you will send when we're all said and done, if you want to send like, say, $50 extra, I'm going to type in 50 here, watch what happens up here. So as I type in 50 and I hit enter, this number drops. So as we type in numbers all the way down this spreadsheet, this number will keep dropping from the total up here, okay? And the goal is to get this number all the way to zero, exactly zero to the penny. So I'm going to take this out because we don't know if we can actually send that. And your category group 1 will go here. So this is where you're going to put in your category groups. There are 6 of these. So this is 1, right? And there are 6 sections going down. There are 20 slots under each one. So if this was, I'm going to put on caps lock, monthly bills and expenses. And then I'm going to say, okay, I know we need groceries for the month. I know we got to pay rent. I know I need my electric bill, right? So that this is where you list things out. And for due or fund by for groceries, I'm just going to say last day of the month. That's at the bottom. Rent is due on the 1st and the electric bill is due on the 16th. You have to go look these up for you and figure out. You might want to like under estimate, shoot under, right? Like let's say the electric bill is really due on the 17th. You might want to tell yourself it's the 16th so that you're never late. Like that's up to you. Your monthly target or goal is how much money you need to set aside each month only, not for the year, for these things. So for groceries, maybe you're going to say I need 500 a month, or maybe you need like 700 a month, whatever it is. Rent, let's say you need 2,000 a month. And the electric bill, this is one of those things where you're like, well, it changes every month. Yes, it does. You're going to have to estimate, and you can always add more or take some away later. This is your starting point to make sure your budget works. So if I say, okay, most months it's 150-ish, that's how much I would like to kind of set aside in the quote unquote envelope. And then if I have to add another $5 or $20, I'll figure it out later. So then down here is where you'll add in, say, let's say this is my sinking funds. I want to show you how the sinking funds box works. So let's say this is the holiday gift fund, right? And this year, for the first time, I want to stop waiting till November to realize I need to buy gifts. And so I'm going to say last day of the month, by the last day of the month, every month this year, I want to set aside $60 towards this. You are then going to check that this is a sinking fund, and you'll see why later. But sinking fund should be checked for anything that you want to set aside $60 every single month, no matter what. It doesn't matter how much you set aside last month. It doesn't matter if there's still money left over, right? So like another example would be like the car repair fund. Most of your sinking funds will say last day of the month. And you might say, okay, I want to set aside $70 for that each month because I have an old car and I need to always, have money for that. Sinking fund. Some months, like if you have to repair the car in, say, June, this fund might get wiped out, but every single month you want to put $70 into the fund. These are very different from, say, groceries, right? So let's say that you set aside $700 one month and you get ready to roll your budget over and you still have $75 left over in groceries for some reason. That's usually not the case. You don't want to make it a sinking fund where you're like, okay, I'll add another 700 and we have the 75 from last month. And now we can buy like the really expensive cheese this month, right? Like that's not how that works. If you have money left over in groceries, you're like, thank God I'm putting that toward debt or I'm putting that somewhere else. So you're not rolling money over and making this balance go up each month. Whereas you want these balances ideally to go up each month. And that's what sinking means. Now, here are the other things on this page. These are just text boxes. They don't do anything with formulas, so you can just type in them. It's for your own, just to keep you motivated or focused on what you want to focus on this month. Same thing with notes, just boxes. So the example I give is buy sneakers for oldest kid, right? You put in their name, whatever. And so if that's your reminder, like, oh, that's right, I got to make sure I include that in my budget because I know my kid needs sneakers. And when you take care of it, you could check it off. This doesn't do anything with formulas. This is just for you. Now, with this, remember, white background, you can't change any of this. This will be your monthly calendar. This is all gray. So you could overwrite these numbers if you wanted, but it's up to you. The date. So in Google Sheets, you double click and it brings up the calendar for you. So if I say, okay, in March, I'm getting paid on the 14th and I'm getting paid on the 28th. And it's going to be, let's say it was 24, 15, 45 each time. Let's say it was a salary, right? I could put in my name. I could say partner A, partner B, whatever I want to do. So like I've had people be like, okay, this is Haley's paycheck, or Haley's primary paycheck, right? And then you might, if you've got a partner and they get paid, like let's say they get paid once a month and it's going to be there and it's going to be, I don't know, I'm making up numbers as I go. You would put their name here. You can do this however you want, but notice what's happening. This is telling you that the paychecks will be arriving on those dates. And the reason this is important is these will also light up on the actual budget page so that as you're going through and funding your categories and you're like, okay, the electric bill is due on the 16th. On your budget page, you actually have to like put the money in the category. And you're going to be looking at this and be like, oh, I'm going to get paid on the 14th. There will be more money by then, so I can cover that with my paycheck from the 14th. Okay, so that's why that matters. All right, let's jump back over to like the debt and credit card section. If you don't actually have debt, if you just use credit cards, you can use this, like ignore the fact that it says debt, and you're going to list your credit cards. So credit cards work really uniquely in this spreadsheet. So if you do have credit cards that you spend on, you are also going to list the name of them here, and you'll just say starting balance is 0. Or if you have a balance but you're going to pay it off, list whatever the starting balance is, okay? And if the minimum payment is 0, that's fine too, right? So here's the thing to keep in mind. This is a really special box. It changes a lot of things with formulas, so be very careful. If you have debts listed here and your goal is to not add any more charges to any of them except just pay them down, right? That's your goal. You are going to leave this like it is. And so your goal is like pay down this balance each month. If an emergency happens, let's say your car needs $1,500 worth of repairs. And let's say you're just starting your budget, you have nothing saved up, and you have to charge it to your credit card because you literally don't have the money. That's okay, you can do that. It will show that like as overspent and debt on the spreadsheet, on the budget. That's fine because we are reflecting reality here. Like it is supposed to just show you what is really happening. So that's fine. You only want to check this box if you are going to be charging things to credit cards, any credit card, whether there's a balance or not, and also cash flowing that each month. So for example, I might check this if I'm going to use my Discover credit card to buy groceries, and I'm sending maybe my minimum plus some extra for debt, and I'm also going to send the extra money each month that I charge to groceries so that the grocery money isn't also becoming debt. I'm just using my credit card maybe for the reward points or maybe for the, whatever. And of course, like my opinion as a budget coach is it's easier to, I recommend, it's written in here somewhere, I recommend you don't do that if you're trying to get a handle on your credit cards and your debt. I recommend you pay with debit only or cash only while you pay off your credit cards. But if you're someone who's like, yeah, I'm still going to do this, this is what I do, that's fine. You're going to check this box, okay? So if you charge anything regularly and cash flow it that month on any card at all, this box needs to be checked. Now, after you come up with a debt payoff plan, which is a separate step of basically deciding like how long is it going to take me to be debt free? How much extra can I send to debt, right? So part of a debt payoff plan is determining how much extra can I send. So let's say we decide we can send $40 extra each month because let's say we take this number all the way down to 0 and we manage to fit 40 in with it. I'll show you that on the completed version. Where is that 40 going to go? That is this checkbox. If you're like, okay, that 40 is going to my number one priority debt, and I've decided it's going to be this one, or I've decided it's going to be this one. It doesn't matter what order it's in. It doesn't have to be the top one. So let's say it just happens to be this because I'm going to follow the snowball method and I'm going to use the lower balance. You're going to uncheck this box, right? That's why you're getting this error. So uncheck that and be like, okay, this is the one where the $40 extra is going to go. And so it's going to light up in bold. And on the budget page, it will tell you exactly how much to send to what debt. So whichever one is checked here, that amount here is going to be tacked on to your minimum. All right, now I'm going to jump over to a completed version of this just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so this example is basically complete. This is the one we are going to work with going forward. So you can see that we're just using this as an expected household take-home income, and we have budgeted all the way to 0. What that means is, like I'm going to take this 124 out, so I'm going to delete it. See, we still had $124, and then I put it back in here and hit enter, and it goes all the way to 0. If I put in 125, we would have a problem. We have to fix that. It has to be exactly 0. So keep in mind, a lot of the initial thought is like, but wait, I don't want to spend all my money every month. Nope, you're budgeting it, you're not spending it. So part of this is going to the emergency fund, right? So I'm setting aside $100 every month for the emergency fund. And a lot of it is going to debt, like debt minimums, extra to debt. So, and some of it is going to sinking funds. So I'm saving up for vacation and the Christmas fund and things that I know I'm going to be spending throughout the year. And so keep in mind that you do want to be setting aside money for things that you know you will be spending money on. If you know you're going to buy holiday gifts in December, you're not doing yourself any benefit by being like, well, I'm not going to like save up for that. That's so far away. No, you're going to have a problem in December if you don't get started now, whenever now is. So sinking funds are really valuable for things that you know you are going to need to spend money on. Like if you go get your hair cut anytime at some point, you're going to need a fund for that. You can't pretend you don't have to pay for that if you have to pay for it, right? Personal care products. If you buy soap or shampoo or whatever, don't like be like, okay, well, no, I'm really cutting my budget way down. We're just not buying that. Like if you're going to buy it, you need a budget line for it. And however you organize these is fine. It doesn't need to be like these exact names, but budget for your life and what it costs to live your life. So all of the totals of all of these things, this is for this line, and then there's this line, and then we have all of the minimum payments plus the extra, all of it comes to exactly $5,843. So just a quick note here, because you might be thinking, wow, that's impressive. Like, how did it come to exactly like the exact amount of dollars with no extra cents one way or the other? It's not magic, I promise. Like this is something that it's a lot of back and forth finagling. You may realize you are over on some of your expenses. So your expenses are higher than your income, and then you'll see the red at the top. And then you have to reduce your expenses, essentially reduce your targets. So maybe some of your goals that you wanted to save toward, you're not going to be able to save as much based on your salary and your other required expenses. It's also possible that you may set all this up and you may see additional money left in budget this to zero. That may not be all the way down to zero. And then you have extra to play around with. You could, add extra to the debt extra, or you could add it to some of your sinking funds. But the point is, I knew what I was doing when I set this all up. So that's how it came out to exactly the right amount. That is not something you're going to get right at the beginning. It's going to take you a while to get it exactly adjusted. So just know that it's a process the first time. But once you have it all kind of set up in your first month, everything is going to get easier from then on out, and you will know what template or format for how much you can put toward different things is going to work for your budget going forward. The only thing left we have to do is we haven't selected where this 124 is going to go. So I'm going to just quickly decide that we're going to go with the snowball method. So that's the lowest balance. So I'm going to decide that it's going to be this one, and I uncheck this. I'm going to put in some paycheck dates. Let's say it is the 14th and the 28th. And let's see, I'm going to just, to make it simple, I'm going to say 5,843 divided by 2 means that each paycheck is going to be this. And notice that it's going to total them up for me. And so now my monthly total of my paychecks is projected to be this. You don't have to, I recommend you fill in the dates. You don't have to fill in the amounts initially, because if you don't always make the same amount, maybe you'd rather use this calculation to reflect back on and be like, oh, it came to something else, right? So like, let's say this one was 3,000, and you can look back at this later and be like, okay, I thought it was going to be this. It turns out this is how much I made. And you might make a note about that. So this is not going anywhere besides right here. We're not using this number for anything else. So you can make these your true paycheck amount if your number changes each month. For right now, we're going to pretend it's a salary and it is going to match. I also want to mention that everybody should have a specific category called something like next month's money. So you can label this whatever you'd want. You could say 1 month ahead fund or next month or something like that. You can say due or fund by the last day of the month, and do not set a monthly target or goal and leave this blank. There's a specific reason for this. You're going to use this category to hold the money that you are going to need to start next month. So for example, for sure your last paycheck of any given month, I assume you need part of it to pay the bills that are due on the first of the next month if you haven't gotten another paycheck by then, right? So this is where you will end up putting that money on the budget page. So make sure that somewhere in your budget, you have a category called something like this, and you leave this blank and this blank. Now, let me just check in with you. If you're feeling really overwhelmed, like, oh my God, this was so much work, this is taking forever, I can't do this every month, don't worry, you're not going to do this every month. The planning page is like a set up your budget the first time thing, and then you're going to carry it over and just copy and paste it from month to month. So this is the bulk of the work, honestly, the first time you set up your budget. Now, if you want to adjust things or change your categories later because you didn't like the way it was laid out or you forgot about something, totally fine. You can do that and you'll have to add that in later. But once you get to the point where you like the way this is all set up and you like the numbers and it's working for you, it is copy and paste. So just stay with me. This is going to pay off big time. Like so many people I've worked with have paid off like $10,000 of debt, $20,000 of debt in a year. And it depends on you and your situation, but just know that this system works and it is worth putting in the time up front to get started. Now, one final note, as you go about the process of setting up your category groups and categories, there are some resources to help you make sure you don't forget anything. One of those things is this spreadsheet. So this is included for you. This is called Budget Category Templates. This is meant to kind of just be like a book or a PDF, right, that you would look at. It's not meant to be something that you edit. So what I've done here is I've set up 5 different budget structures that you might want to use if you're not sure, like, well, what should my category group names be and like which things should I include under them? Here are some examples. So this is mostly about the structure of the category groups. So in the classic budget, you've got monthly bills and expenses, essential sinking funds and non-monthly bills and expenses, and then non-essential sinking funds. So non-essential meaning like if you took a pay cut, these are the things that are going to be cut first from your budget, right? Whereas an essential sinking fund is more like car maintenance, right? That's ideally we don't want to cut that. So now be sure to read these notes. This is a note about everything in here. And these notes up here are about if you want to choose this budget, here are some things to keep in mind. So budget by paycheck will show you how to, like if you're like paycheck number 1, this is what this is how I divvy it up usually. You could go about it that way. You could use a thematic budget, food, personal, medical, kids and pets. Minimalist budget, like this is complicated, I want very few categories, that's for you. Or if you're living very paycheck to paycheck and you need to be like super just, I'm going to fund this first, and then if there's money left over, I'll fund this next, and then if there's still money left over, this is what I'll fund last. So use these templates for the structure of mostly your category groups. Now, one more resource that you might want to check in on is the Ultimate Sinking Funds Guide. So as I go down, we have sinking funds for all kinds of things in here. So notice how we've got like wedding planning, buying a house and moving, fitness and exercise, retirement, things to prioritize while paying off debt. And so these are all just examples of things and ideas so that if you're sitting there like, well, I don't know what I need a sinking fund for. Browse these and then make a decision like, oh, yeah, no, I'm definitely going to need something for pet expenses. I forgot, like we've got a dog and we're going to have to budget for that. Or, oh, I forgot, like dental stuff. My kid needs braces or home repairs. Like, oh, that's right. The water heater is going to need to be replaced next year, maybe. Like, think about, and this is like a pick and choose thing. You can go through all these and just pick random ones from all over the place. But it's to kind of just spark your imagination with things that you might need to include in your budget. All right, so go ahead and finish filling out your planning page and then check out the next video for how to move over to the budget tab.